I pressed my forehead against the cold airplane window, watching San Diego disappear beneath the clouds. 9 months. That's how long my deployment to Djibouti had been. 9 months of 120-degree heat, of treating Marines with heat stroke and dehydration, of video calls that froze mid-sentence. But I was coming home, finally. My phone buzzed as we touched down at LAX. A text from my younger sister, Claire. "We need to talk. It's about Nana's bakery." My stomach dropped. Nana's bakery. Sweet Magnolia Bakery in Savannah, Georgia. The place where I'd learned to make her famous pecan praline cake at age 7, where she'd let me stand on a step stool to frost cupcakes, where she'd handed me an envelope on my 18th birthday containing the deed with both our names on it. "For when I'm gone, Emma," she'd said, "you're the only one who loves this place like I do." Nana had passed 3 months into my deployment. Heart failure. I'd requested emergency leave, but by the time the paperwork cleared, I'd missed the funeral by 2 days. I'd sat in my quarters in Djibouti, crying while holding my phone, looking at photos of her bakery. I called Claire from the airport. She answered on the first ring. I'm so sorry. I tried to stop them." "Stop who?" "Claire, what's going on?" "Mom sold the bakery. Last week. It's done." The terminal spun around me. I sat down hard on a bench, my duffel bag sliding off my shoulder. "What do you mean, sold? The bakery is mine." "Nana put my name on the deed. Mom can't just—" "She did. She said she's executor of the estate and Nana's will left everything to her. She said the deed thing was just sentimental, not legally binding. Emma, she sold it to a developer. They're turning it into luxury condos." I closed my eyes. "Where's Mom now?" "She's in Turks and Caicos. She used the money to buy a condo there. She said she deserves it after taking care of Nana for 2 years." I hung up and booked a flight to Savannah. I didn't even go home first. The bakery looked wrong. The mint green shutters Nana had painted every spring were gone, replaced with plywood boards. A sign hung on the door. "Property of Coastal Development Group. No trespassing." I stood there on Bull Street, still in my Navy uniform, and felt something break inside me. This was the building where 4 generations of women in my family had baked. My great-grandmother had opened it in 1952. Nana had taken over in 1978. She'd always said I'd be next. I tried the door. Locked. I walked around back to the alley where we used to receive flower deliveries. The back door was locked too, but the window to Nana's office was cracked open an inch. The same window she always forgot to close. I looked around. No one was watching. I pushed the window up and climbed through. The office smelled like her. Vanilla and cinnamon and old paper. Her desk was still there, covered in a layer of dust. The filing cabinet stood open and empty. On the wall hung the photo of her and my grandfather on their wedding day, standing in front of this very building. I opened the desk drawers one by one. Empty, empty, empty. Then, in the bottom right drawer, stuck in the back corner, I found a small leather journal, Nana's handwriting on the first page, Emma's recipes. I sat down in her chair and opened it. Page after page of her handwriting. The pecan praline cake, the lemon lavender cookies, the chocolate bourbon balls she only made at Christmas, but tucked in the middle was an envelope with my name on it. I opened it with shaking hands. "My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, I'm gone and you've come home to find Sweet Magnolia isn't yours anymore. Your mother has always been good at finding legal loopholes. I know her too well. That's why I'm leaving you this. In the bakery's foundation, in the northeast corner of the kitchen, there's a loose brick, 3rd row from the floor, 8th brick from the corner. Behind it is a lockbox. The code is 0712, your birthday. Inside, you'll find the original deed, dated 2015, with both our names. I had it notarized by Judge Patterson. I also recorded a video the day I added your name to the deed. Judge Patterson is a witness on that too. Your mother doesn't know about any of this. She thinks that copy I showed her 3 years ago was the only one. She's wrong. Take these to Alan Brewer. He's a lawyer on Jones Street. He's waiting for you. He's already paid for. I love you, my sweet girl. Don't let her take your birthright. Nana. I pressed the letter to my chest and let myself cry for the first time since leaving Djibouti. Then I stood up, pocketed the journal and letter, and went into the kitchen. The commercial ovens were gone. The industrial mixer I'd used to make hundreds of batches of dough, gone. The walls had been stripped down to the studs in places, but the floor was still there. Original 1950s tile, black and white checkered. I counted bricks in the northeast corner. Third row, 8th brick. I pulled at it. It didn't budge. I pulled harder, wiggling it back and forth. Finally, it slid out. Behind it, covered in dust, was a small metal lockbox. My hands were trembling so badly I could barely punch in the code. 0712. Click. Inside was a manila folder. I opened it right there on the floor of the gutted kitchen. The deed, dated the 7th of May 2015. This property is hereby transferred to Magnolia Rose Thompson and Emma Catherine Thompson as joint tenants with right of survivorship. Both our signatures. Judge Patterson's seal and signature. Beneath it, a flash drive labeled Deed Ceremony, Video. And beneath that, a handwritten will dated 6 months before Nana died. I leave Sweet Magnolia Bakery to my granddaughter, Emma Catherine Thompson. She is the heart of this business and the future of our family's legacy. I took photos of everything with my phone and put the originals carefully back in the lockbox. Then I replaced the brick and left the way I'd come in. Alan Brewer's office was in a restored Victorian on Jones Street. His receptionist took one look at my uniform and the dust on my knees and brought me water without asking. "Lieutenant Thompson?" A man in his 60s appeared in the doorway. "Magnolia told me you'd come. I'm so sorry for your loss." She was a remarkable woman. I followed him into his office. He closed the door. "She came to see me about 2 years ago," he said, settling behind his desk. "She said her daughter was pressuring her to sell the bakery. Said the daughter was hiding bills, making it look like the business was failing when it wasn't. Magnolia asked me to help her protect it for you." "My mother sold it," I said. "Last week, while I was deployed." His expression didn't change. "I know. I received notice of the sale. That's why I filed an injunction yesterday." I stared at him. "You what?" "Your grandmother paid me a retainer 2 years ago to handle exactly this situation. The sale is frozen pending a hearing. It's scheduled for next Tuesday. I've subpoenaed your mother to appear. She's in Turks and Caicos." "Not anymore. I had the court send a sheriff to her hotel this morning. She'll be on a plane back by tonight." I felt something like hope for the first time in 3 months. The hearing was in the Chatham County Courthouse. I wore my dress uniform. Alan had advised it. "The judge is former Navy," he'd said. "Served in Desert Storm." My mother walked in wearing a cream-colored suit and diamond earrings I'd never seen before. She stopped when she saw me. For a moment, something flickered across her face. Guilt, maybe, or fear. Then, her expression hardened. "Emma, you look well." "Mom." Claire slipped into the row behind me and squeezed my shoulder. "I'm with you," she whispered. The judge entered. Judge Sarah Blackwood, according to the nameplate. She looked to be about 60, with steel-gray hair and sharp eyes. Alan stood. "Your Honor, we're here to contest the sale of the property located at 423 Bull Street, Savannah, commonly known as Sweet Magnolia Bakery. My client, Lieutenant Emma Thompson, is the legal co-owner of said property under a deed executed in 2015. The recent sale was conducted without her knowledge or consent while she was deployed overseas in service to her country. My mother's lawyer, a slick-looking man in a too-expensive suit, stood. Your Honor, that deed was never properly executed. Mrs. Diane Thompson is the sole executor of Magnolia Thompson's estate and has full authority to sell estate assets. Judge Blackwood looked at me. Lieutenant Thompson, when did you become aware of this sale? I stood. Upon returning from deployment 4 days ago, Your Honor. I was stationed in Djibouti with no access to local communications beyond emergency channels. And you had no knowledge of your mother's intention to sell? None, Your Honor. My grandmother deeded the property to both of us in 2015. I have the original deed with notarized signatures. My mother's lawyer scoffed. The deceased made many promises near the end of her life. She was suffering from dementia and, I have video evidence, I said, recorded by my grandmother on the day the deed was executed. She was examined by her physician that same day and deemed fully competent. Judge Patterson witnessed both the deed signing and the video recording. Judge Blackwood raised an eyebrow. Judge Patterson? Judge Raymond Patterson? Yes, Your Honor. He retired 3 years ago, but I served with him for 15 years. If he witnessed this deed, I'd like to see it. All of it. Alan handed her the folder. She read through it slowly. Then she looked at my mother. Mrs. Thompson, did you know about this deed? My mother shifted in her seat. My mother showed me a piece of paper once, years ago. But it wasn't notarized. It wasn't legal. This one is notarized, by Judge Patterson himself, and it predates the will you submitted by 3 years. Judge Blackwood turned to me. Do you have the video? I handed over the flash drive. The judge inserted it into her computer and turned the monitor so we all could see. Nana's face filled the screen. She was sitting in her office at the bakery, wearing her favorite purple cardigan. Judge Patterson sat beside her. Today is the 7th of May 2015, Nana said to the camera. I'm Magnolia Rose Thompson, and I'm of sound mind and body. I want to make it clear that I'm deeding Sweet Magnolia Bakery to my granddaughter, Emma Catherine Thompson, to own jointly with me, and upon my death, to own outright. Emma has worked beside me in this bakery since she was old enough to hold a whisk. She knows every recipe, every customer, every brick in these walls. This business is her future, and I'm making sure no one can take it from her. Judge Patterson spoke on the video. I've known Magnolia Thompson for 30 years. I've reviewed this deed. It's legally sound and properly executed. This video serves as additional evidence of her intent and mental competency at the time of execution. The video ended. Judge Blackwood sat back in her chair. Mrs. Thompson, this deed was recorded with the county in 2015. It's a matter of public record. You could have discovered this at any time. Instead, you sold property that wasn't solely yours to sell. Did you know about the Service Members Civil Relief Act? My mother's lawyer whispered something to her. She didn't answer. The SCRA, Judge Blackwood continued, provides specific protections for military members and their property while they're on active duty. You can't sell, seize, or transfer a service member's property interest without their consent or a court order. What you did isn't just civilly wrong, Mrs. Thompson. It's a federal offense. My mother's face went pale. Judge Blackwood turned to the developer's lawyer, who'd been sitting quietly in the back. The sale is voided. The property reverts to Lieutenant Thompson. You'll need to seek reimbursement from Mrs. Thompson. The developer's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client purchased this property in good faith for $1.2 million. We've already invested another $300,000 in demolition and planning. Your client should have done a proper title search. The deed was recorded. This is not Lieutenant Thompson's problem. She banged her gavel. Case closed. Lieutenant Thompson retains full ownership of 423 Bull Street. Mrs. Thompson, you're ordered to return any proceeds from the sale within 30 days. If you fail to do so, I'll refer this matter to the U.S. Attorney's Office for federal prosecution. Understood? My mother didn't look at me as she left the courtroom. Claire hugged me in the hallway, crying. You did it, Em. Nana would be so proud. I went back to the bakery that afternoon, stood in the gutted kitchen and looked at what was left. The developer had ripped out almost everything. The ovens, the mixers, the countertops, even the vintage display cases. All gone. But the bones were still there. The brick walls, the heart pine floors, the tin ceiling, the foundation Nana and my great-grandmother had built. I sat down on the floor where the main work table used to be and opened Nana's recipe journal. Her handwriting blurred through my tears. My phone rang. An unknown number. Lieutenant Thompson? This is Richard Hart from Coastal Development. I wanted to apologize for what happened. We had no idea about the ownership situation. It's fine. You were lied to. I understand. I appreciate that. Listen, we invested $300,000 in demolition and architectural plans. Would you be interested in purchasing them? We designed a beautiful restoration plan before we realized the building needed to be preserved. Modern kitchen equipment, updated electrical and plumbing, but maintaining the historical character. All the plans are done and permitted. I'd sell them to you for cost. Call it an apology. I looked around the empty kitchen. Send me the plans. Let me see what you had in mind. 2 weeks later, I stood in the bakery with a contractor. The plans were spread across a folding table. This is good work, the contractor said. They respected the building's history, new commercial kitchen in the back, but they kept the original retail space design. Even sourced period-appropriate display cases. You could have this place running in 3 months if you've got the funding. I didn't have the funding, not even close. My Navy salary couldn't cover this. But Nana's life insurance policy had a beneficiary, me, and my mother had been ordered to return the $1.2 million from the sale. She'd wired the money 2 days ago without a word. No apology, no explanation. Just a bank transfer and a lawyer's letter saying she was moving permanently to Turks and Caicos. Claire had come by the day after the hearing, crying. I'm sorry, Em. I tried to tell her it was wrong. I tried to stop her. I know. This isn't your fault. She's my mother, but what she did, I can't forgive her. She didn't just steal from you. She tried to erase Nana's legacy. I hugged my sister and felt the family break in a way I knew would never heal. Mom had made her choice. Claire and I would have to make ours. I hired the contractor, used Nana's insurance money for the kitchen equipment and the rest for renovations, bought the developer's plans and permits, worked 16-hour days alongside the construction crew, still in my Navy uniform most days because I'd report for reserve duty on weekends. 3 months later, on what would have been Nana's 80th birthday, I stood in Sweet Magnolia Bakery and turned on the new ovens. The vintage display cases the developer had sourced gleamed under LED lights designed to look like the original 1950s fixtures. The black and white tile floor had been restored. On the wall behind the register hung a photo of Nana in her purple cardigan, standing in this exact spot. Claire came in through the front door, carrying a box. I found these in storage at Dad's house. Nana's recipe cards, the original ones from when she first opened. We laid them out on the counter. Yellowed index cards in my great-grandmother's handwriting. Her pecan praline cake recipe. Her lemon lavender cookies. Her secret ingredient list for the Christmas bourbon balls. We should test them, Claire said. Make sure they still work. So we did. My sister and I, in our grandmother's kitchen, baking from recipes written 70 years ago. The bakery smelled like cinnamon and vanilla and home. The grand reopening was scheduled for the following Saturday, but on Friday night, I got a call from an unknown number. Emma, it's Alan Brewer. I have some news. Your mother's lawyer contacted me this afternoon. She wants to meet with you. No, she says she wants to apologize. She can send a letter. She's at St. Joseph's Hospital. She had a stroke yesterday. She may not have much time. I stood in my apartment, holding the phone, feeling nothing. That's not my problem. Emma, I understand. But I think you should know. She's asking for you, not for forgiveness. She says she wants to tell you the truth. I hung up, poured myself a glass of wine, sat on my couch and looked at photos of the bakery renovation on my phone. Then I stood up, put on my jacket, and drove to the hospital. She looked smaller than I remembered. Thinner. Half her face drooped from the stroke, her left arm immobile under the white sheets. Emma, her words slurred. You came. I stood at the foot of her bed. Alan said you wanted to tell me the truth. She closed her eyes. I was angry. When you joined the Navy, you were supposed to stay in Savannah, run the bakery with Nana, keep the family together. But you left. I didn't leave. I served my country. You left me. After your father died, you were all I had, you and Claire, and you chose the Navy over us. That's not fair. No, it's not. Nothing about this is fair. She opened her eyes. Tears ran down the right side of her face. Nana loved you more than she loved me. She always did. You were everything I wasn't. Talented, passionate, good. I wanted you to hurt the way I'd hurt. So I took the one thing she'd given you. I'm sorry. I pulled a chair to her bedside and sat down. You almost succeeded, but I didn't. You're stronger than I ever was. Nana knew that. That's why she chose you. She didn't choose me over you, Mom. She chose the person who loved the bakery. That could have been you. No, I hated that place. Hated the smell of flour and the early mornings and the customers who wanted Nana, not me. I wanted to sell it 20 years ago. but she wouldn't let me. She reached out with her good hand. I'm dying, Emma. The doctors say I have weeks, maybe. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I needed you to know I'm sorry, for all of it. I took her hand, felt how cold and thin it was. I don't know if I can forgive you. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I know. I stayed with her for an hour. Claire came eventually, and we sat on either side of Mom's bed, not talking much, just being there. When I left, I didn't know if I'd come back. She died 6 days later. I didn't go to the funeral. Claire did, and scattered Mom's ashes in Turks and Caicos like she'd requested. I stayed in Savannah and opened Sweet Magnolia Bakery on schedule. The line stretched around the block. News coverage of the court case had made the bakery famous. People wanted to taste the recipes that 4 generations of women had protected. They wanted to see the place that had survived demolition and family betrayal. I served them Nana's pecan praline cake, her lemon lavender cookies, her chocolate bourbon balls, even though it wasn't Christmas. On the wall behind the register, I hung 2 photos, one of Nana in her purple cardigan, and one of my great-grandmother on opening day in 1952, standing in front of the mint green shutters with flour on her apron and joy on her face. I didn't hang a photo of my mother. Maybe someday. Maybe never. But I did keep her last words to me, written in a journal I started, next to Nana's recipes, because forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about understanding, and maybe, eventually, letting go. The bakery thrives now. Claire quit her job and came to work with me. We hired 3 bakers and expanded the menu. We're training apprentices in the old recipes, making sure another generation learns the secrets. Some nights, when I'm alone in the kitchen after closing, I stand where Nana used to stand and feel her presence. The building holds memories in its brick walls and heart pine floors. 4 generations of women who fought to keep this place alive. My mother tried to tear it all down. She almost succeeded, but almost isn't enough. Not when you're built on a foundation this strong. Sweet Magnolia Bakery stands on Bull Street in Savannah, just like it has since 1952. The mint green shutters are fresh painted. The vintage sign glows in the window. Inside, the ovens run from 4 a.m. until 8 p.m., turning out the same recipes my great-grandmother invented 70 years ago. I'm Lieutenant Emma Thompson, U.S. Navy Reserve, baker, granddaughter, guardian of a legacy that survived war, death, and family betrayal, and I'm never letting it go.